Hello and welcome back to Up The Duff. What a fortnight it has been since our last episode of Cheltenham Town sitting pretty at the top of League Two after victories over Scunthorpe, Southend and Port Vale. It's the first time we've topped the table this season and the first time we've topped League Two since you know what. I'm sure that is definitely not happening again.
Yeah, it sure is a great time to be a Cheltenham fan at the moment. Yeah, I couldn't quite believe what I was seeing in Cambridge when it got down to Scunthorpe, but we can't rest on our laurels now. And I'm sure Michael Duff knows that better than anyone else.
Speaking of great times to be a Cheltenham fan, today's guest is Graham Fletcher, a lifelong Town fan who has been there for all the ups, all the downs of the past few decades. He's going to share with us all his vast knowledge at the club, his experiences of fans through the years. Welcome, Graham. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for the invite onto your show.
It's all right. We are very happy to have you.
I've been listening avidly to your previous Up The Duff podcast, and I thought you could do with a bit of experience on there, couldn't you? So.
Some radio experience. Good to have a fan on as well.
Yes, indeed.
Shout out to Radio Winchcombe, I think it is.
Yeah, they're doing very well still. I'm not on at the moment. I did 16 weeks over the first lockdown, 3-hour shows or 4-hour shows, and then we got open again, didn't we? So I could go back to do some football. So then I stopped then. But I never know. I might go back. You never know.
Could be fun. Now, first things first, we're just going to go through the last 3 games that saw the Robins claim League Two's perch.
Yeah, our latest run really kicked off with that unlikely win away at Cambridge. Of course, there was no Boyle, no Raglan either, but no problem somehow. I'm still not quite sure how we pulled it off, to be honest, especially when Chris Hussey had to go off too.
Was a fantastic result. Now, Scunthorpe were the first victims of our league climbing hat-trick as we disposed of the Lincolnshire side with 3 goals from Sam Smith and Callum Wright, giving us a 2-0 away victory with little challenge.
Yeah, the table made for a really decent reading after Scunthorpe. It only left us a point behind Forest Green and 2 behind Cambridge, with both of us Gloucestershire clubs having 2 games in hand on first. I personally thought it'd be a pretty slow process of trying to overtake them both, but evidently not.
Yeah, they have done us a lot of favours. Now, Michael Duff's side then earned a 1-0 win over a resurgent Southend who had just beaten Rovers 3-1 at the New Lawn with a Connor Thomas penalty early in the second half, enough for us to get all 3 points at Wadham Road.
Yeah, then of course Forest Green managed to go and shock us all again. Yeah, despite the way they managed to thrash Colchester on the Saturday, they were quite embarrassed by Stevenage just a week after the Southend game. 3 more goals conceded in that one.
Cambridge fell to a 1-0 home defeat to Scunthorpe, a team we'd just beaten 2-0 fairly easily, meaning the 3 points at the Johnny Rock Stadium lifted Cheltenham to the top of League Two, 1 point above Cambridge with those 2 games in hand.
Yeah, now, as I'm sure we're all aware, this isn't a side that always thrives in favourable positions. So it was going to be very interesting to see how they'd cope with the extra weight of being top of the league going into the Port Vale game. But for 80 minutes, we looked fantastic. It was very comfortable. Podcast favourite Scott Brown obviously didn't have a great game, and Alfie May was absolutely fantastic too. But obviously, it goes without saying, 10 minutes left, 2 goals in 3 minutes. I was on the edge of my seat, but in a very bad way.
Especially when those 7 added minutes came in. I was not enjoying that. But obviously the dubious goal commission appears to have awarded Alfie May with that second goal. I'm not sure how, because it did just come straight off Scott Brown. But yeah, nervy game, but 3 points.
Yeah, that's all that matters about now, isn't it? Consistency, just continuing to rack up all of those points. Obviously, Cambridge and Forest Green, their falters really did help us out, but I can't imagine that they'll continue to falter into the next few weeks. And even if they do, it seems like Tranmere making quite the resurgence. Yeah, Morecambe too. Bolton have really came on leaps and bounds over the last month, so it's going to be hot competition.
It's going to be tight at the top. Now, if we look at the past 2 times Cheltenham Town did top the league, one time we ended up running away with the title with over 100 points. The other time we ended up relegated. So hopefully we just run away with the title. Now, Graham, what do you think of our rise to the top and how you think this season has been going recently?
I think that every time we seem to be under the pump or we've got difficulties with team selection or people are out of form, we suddenly produce a performance out of nowhere. The Cambridge game, how would you ever have predicted that to be a victory of Cheltenham? It was just, that was one of the typical things I've just mentioned. I think they just suddenly produce a performance out of nowhere. Okay, it was only 1-0. They were under they were under a lot of pressure and all the rest of it, allegedly. But at the end of the day, somebody produces a good performance. Long scores a goal out of nowhere. Where do you ever expect him to come up and score a goal? It's just remarkable things to turn out. And I think that 3-0 up on Saturday, you think it's going to be really comfortable. And a bit of a wobble, but in the end, we still get the 3 points. And I think that, as we were saying before, Ben, we were saying that it's a season where everybody can beat each other. I think that's more, you can see teams from the bottom of the league beating teams at the top of the league. Because of the very nature of that means that you can never say, like tonight, okay, we're in better form than Mansfield, but you can't really rule Mansfield out from winning tonight. You could, that could happen, But I just think it's a funny season because there's no crowds and all the rest of it. But from somewhere out of nowhere, we've produced results which you didn't expect. And in previous seasons, we may not have done that. I don't know what it is, but we just produce results when you least expect it. And conversely, we produce defeats out of nowhere you expect it, aren't we? Barrow. Do you ever think Barrow were going to beat us 3-0? It's
that
remarkable.
Was a poor game. I mean, it's made slightly better by Forest Green then conceding 3 to both teams around them, which was quite nice. But obviously, getting these wins when we probably shouldn't, or maybe shouldn't because of injuries, is kind of the character of potential champions. And perhaps it's Mike Duff's elite mentality, playing in the Prem, playing in the Championship, playing international, where he's just kind of talking to them saying, yeah, times are tough, but you know what? I want you to win this. So just go win this and don't lose, please.
I also think that people who come in to play in positions where they may not naturally play have produced, really top performances, haven't they? They come in and played in situations where we needed them. Boyle not being available. It's not like previous seasons when he sees out for 6 weeks. Well, 6 weeks is 12 games at the moment, isn't it? So it's a lot of games to miss. And, we seem to have coped, which is another plus, I think, really.
Yeah, we seem to have players all over the place. I think Sean Long put in a very good centre midfielder display away to Harrogate as well.
Well, you wouldn't expect that, would you? But I did notice that the thing that got the most comments on that game was a double-decker bus, wasn't it? I didn't go inside the ground, so I don't know if that says much about the game, but at least it's a win, isn't it? Win's a win, isn't it? So.
I mean, it's not often. Apparently, you see a double-decker bus going down that route. Apparently, it was most commonly a single-decker, so they must have been very, very excited to see it. Harry, what are your thoughts on kind of what's happening?
I am just so impressed with this team every week at the moment. It's really incredible to see, obviously, as Graham highlighted. Players are so versatile when you wouldn't expect them to be. Sean Long's, he's playing centre mid 1 week, he's playing centre back the next week, he's a right back. It's very telling of the character of this team that they can do that. Under Gary Johnson, there were times where we'd also see players being played out of position, but under Gary, it wouldn't work. That's
Ben Tozer up
big
front.
Difference. When Gary was turning Ben Tozer into a striker, Michael Duff turned him into a centre-back.
He's turned him into one of the best centre-backs in the league, in all fairness. And he's a real weapon for us. Now, we are recording this episode on Tuesday before the Mansfield game. We can only hope that we claim another win and Forest Green and Cambridge lose, but I don't want to jinx anything.
And I don't really want to jinx anything either. But, for now at least, top of the league.
Yeah. Now, moving on. We're going to touch quickly on Liam Sercombe. Now, the Port Vale game, midfielder met the minimum games required to trigger a 1-year extension for his contract.
He's finally done it, albeit roughly 10 games too late, of course, thanks to that knee injury. But you can really see how much we've missed him. Definitely one of the reasons for our recent uptick in performance. He's a quality player, and he won't look out of place in League One.
Yeah, so that 1-year extension could be pivotal for us if we do achieve promotion, which I'm hoping we do. Obviously, he's got a lot of experience and pedigree in League One for Bristol Rovers. They've always been towards the top a lot of the time. I think that will prove invaluable. And if we're going to stay up, we need good players. And obviously, with that experience, Sercombe, he's got both. He's got what we need. I'm very, very glad to hear that he'll be staying on. So, yeah. Graham, what do you think of Liam Sercombe?
Well, did he play in the Did he play any of the cup matches? The FA Cup matches? Was he injured for some of those? Because I've only seen a couple of games on obviously this season. I've only seen a couple of games on iFollow, and he wasn't playing in those. And he I don't remember him being in the. Was he in the Mansfield game?
I think he played against South Shields and Mansfield, but he got injured just before the City match.
Okay. When we signed him, I thought, well, this guy's played. He must have played at least 400 games, and he has played 400 games all through his career. So, you know, he's at Exeter, Oxford, and Bristol Rovers, and they've always rated him very highly. And he's normally been a very good, 40 plus games a season. Well, certainly 35 plus games a season. So you know you're going to get a bit of quality out of that and a bit of longevity. So he's a decent player, and he chips in the goal. Well, he scored the first goal this season, didn't he? I think he was the first.
Yeah, away to Peterborough in a very good win against a League One side, which is very good for us.
He's been around the block, the league block, as they say. Played at all the levels that we've been at, and I think he was probably one of the best signings we could make. And it's a good idea to give him the contract that he's had with the number of games to qualify for another extension. Because so many times in the past we've signed people and they either got injured or we haven't really got them going or whatever. But at least this gives them an incentive, doesn't it, sort of thing? If it was me, if we get promotion, I think I'll be giving him another year as well on top of the one he's got. So keep him. Bag him as much as they can, because he's got a lot of influence on everybody, and he's been around. As I say, he's got promotions in the bag, and he's got good energy, and I can't wait to see him play in the flesh.
Yeah, it is a crime, the fact that we're witnessing one of the best Cheltenham teams in decades, and I'm having to watch it on my laptop. It is horrible.
It's not great, but we're doing all right.
All good.
Can I ask you fellas a question? Because some people in my WhatsApp group keep complaining about the goalkeeper. What do you think of the goalkeeper, Griffith?
Harry, do you want to start this off?
Yeah, happily. Me and Ben have obviously spoken about Josh Griffiths on this podcast a few times, and we've made a bit of a rule not to slag off players too openly on here, but I think the general consensus is that Scott Flinder's experience would be a lot more valuable at this time. I think Griffiths is getting better, though. I mean, he is here to learn, so it's not too much of a surprise. But I think by the end of the season, we'll have the keeper that we probably needed for the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird one. He seems to make a lot of mistakes and concede a fair few, but he's at least 13 clean sheets this season, which is very good. And I think we have the second best defence in the league. So clearly something is going right. I think I shared this last week or the week before, but the busier Griffiths is, the better he seems to be. So when he's concentrating on the game, so games like that Cambridge one and the Man City game, he seems to be much, much better. So perhaps it is just him not paying attention to what he needs to be paying attention to. Obviously, when you do think about him, you think about the Newport goal and the Grimsby goal. But I think we were one goal ahead of Walsall. He made a very good one-on-one stop against them in the very, very last minutes. He has lost us points, but he is now starting to win us points as well.
And he is here to learn. That's the most important thing. And I think that Duff rates him, doesn't he? So
I trust Michael Duff, yeah. This is one of our best managers in a while. So if Duff trusts him, I'll trust Duff in that, I suppose.
Very good answer. As a former goalkeeper yourself, Ben, isn't that?
Oh yeah, and as the goalkeeper coach, yeah, I think he is getting better, and hopefully he will get good enough what we need. I did find it a bit funny. Was it the last game or the game before where the commentator made the comment? It was like, "Yep, that's no problem for the tall goalkeeper there," despite the fact that he tends to get lobbed like against Barrow by the keeper against Newport. But yeah, we haven't seen him get lobbed for a while now, which I think is the very important thing.
Do you think the Newport goal was down to the state of the pitch? Because it was rock hard that night. It should have been a mud bath, shouldn't it, really? Let's be honest.
Perhaps, yeah, and apparently it was a bit windy, but there's not many excuses you can make for a goalkeeper scoring from a goal kick. It's quiz time, Graham. You ready for our quiz?
Oh, lovely. Can't wait.
All right, do I need to do the intro music again? Right, it is time for Connor to mastermind. We have a guest, so we're doing our quiz. Graham Fletcher, he's been watching for a very, very long time, so we've had to go through a very, very long time of questions to find some good ones for him.
Hey, Ben, you can't keep saying I've been watching it a very, very long time. One very is more than enough, isn't it, really? Let's be honest.
Graham has been watching longer than myself and Harry, So we've had.
Combined.
He has a wealth of experience. We're going to ask you a few questions. Harry sent a few in. I've got all of mine as normal. I'll read them all out. Hopefully you haven't got any overlapping, but I think we did get one because great minds think alike.
Of course.
So, Graham, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Name, age, occupation. Don't have to say the age if you don't want to.
My name is Graham. I'm very, very, very old, and my occupation is accountant.
I think one very would have been enough for old there, Graham. Okay, Harry, have you got our timer?
Yep.
So if you would like to start us, just give us a countdown of 3, 2, 1, and I'll get us going.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
In what year did the club introduce the new badge?
Blimey, that's the question, isn't it? That is. 2014.
2010.
Oh,
Last year's kit celebrated 20 years since we won which trophy?
FA Trophy.
Correct. Cheltenham famously won 2-1 away at Rushden and Diamonds in 1999. What was their stadium called?
Dr. Martin Stadium.
It's Neen Park, according to Harry.
Oh, it was owned by Dr. Martin. The guy owned Dr. Martin's, wasn't it?
Okay. Which club
I went to
is?
that game.
We will talk about that later, definitely. Which club is Sam Smith on loan from?
Is it Leicester?
It's Reading. Who will tear you apart again?
I haven't got a clue. Ben, I haven't got a clue.
Alfie May. Who did we sign on loan from Villa in 2016?
What's the bloke's name? What is the guy's name? Double-barreled name, wasn't it?
That was 2018.
What was it?
You can skip if you'd like.
We'll skip that one for the time. Was it Callum Wright?
It's
No, he's
Issa
left.
Suleiman. What
okay.
colour was the 125th anniversary shirt?
Ruby.
Correct. Who made their debut in the Papa John's Trophy match versus Portsmouth?
George Lloyd.
Felix Miles. Cheltenham famously did the double over which current Premier League side in 2007-8?
Leeds United.
Yes, it was. Who was fouled in the 29th minute of the game versus Oldham?
He started, so he'll finish.
29th minute versus Oldham.
He's an answer in every single one.
Did Harry Kewell come on and get him? Liam Sercombe.
It was Connor Thomas. Right, I'll add up your scores. You've got 4, which means you've beaten me and Harry. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Puts
Very
you in
good.
3rd place out of 5, which is pretty good, to be fair.
Thank you.
I'm just going to ask this one question because I was really excited. I know it's a shame we never got to use it, but it was the number 8 bus travels from Harrogate to which city?
Leeds.
It is Leeds. You can get a bonus point for that. You're on 5. Very good.
Thank you.
How did you find that, Graham?
That was very challenging. Very challenging. Particularly the Villa player on loan. I thought it was somebody else, but again, I haven't seen this guy play yet. Have you seen him play? Has he come on at all, or has he appeared yet?
I'm not sure. We've had 3 Villa players recently. We had Issa Suleiman,
Yeah.
followed by Kelsey Mooney, and then Jake Dorhays.
And I remember that Kelsey Mooney because his dad sat behind me in the stand when they played his first game, and they were expecting great things from him. But
I'm not sure where he is at the moment.
no, I don't know. It didn't quite pan out, did it? Really? So
He scored.
Tommy Mooney was his father, wasn't he?
Tommy Mooney was quite
Yeah.
good, wasn't he?
Good player, yes, good player.
Kelsey Mooney is at Hereford on loan from Scunthorpe.
Is he? No. I'm glad he's still playing.
And there, 8 matches, 1 goal in the National League South. So maybe he'll make it for Scunthorpe. He's still quite young,
Yeah.
to be fair. So, yes, time, Graham, for our little interview. I've given you the questions before. Hopefully you've got some
Yes, you have indeed.
Harry, feel free to chime in. Okay, so it's fair to say you've supported Cheltenham a little bit longer than myself and Harry. And I was wondering, how long have you been following the club and what first got you into it?
I remember the game I went vividly. It was a sunny day. I think it was 1970. Everton had just won the League Championship, Division 1, because that's my team. I was mad about football. I just wanted to watch and play football as much as I could. Finally, my dad, who wasn't really into football, he wasn't really into sports as such, he succumbed and said he'd take me and my brother to watch Cheltenham play at Wadden Road. And the thing I remember most about that game, not only was it a very hot day, is that for the first time ever my first ever football match or live football match as such, you could walk from one end of the pitch to the other end at half time. So you could follow the goalkeepers. So if you wanted to stay at their end and watch the goals going in for your team, you could stay with their goalkeeper, which is what you tended to do. Or you could follow the Cheltenham goalkeeper, which I think was Dave Meeson at the time or something like that, I think it was. But I do remember at half time we could walk down the shed end. Do you remember the shed side, I should say, opposite the main stand before they built the new one?
I have seen pictures, yeah.
You could walk down the back of that and just go to each end, follow the game as you went along, sort of thing. So, but yeah, I remember it vividly, and I think we won 3-0, I think it was. So, but yeah, it was a very interesting experience. Plenty of space to stand in those days.
I suppose that the main stand at the ground hasn't actually changed that much since.
No, not at all. They did the work on it to give it some hospitality boxes when we moved into the Football League. But basically, it stayed the same all the way through, really. They've done a lot of work underneath it with different bars and what have you, and put a set of stairs up to give you this hospitality area. But the rest of the ground is transformed, really, to be fair, which is remarkable. All they need to do is do the speedy skips one, and it'll be fantastic, won't it? I think
the speedy skip stand is definitely what they need to improve. It's very, very low. But yeah, I think myself and Harry have been in the hospitality a couple times. It's quite small, but it's all right. I mean, TV screen is very small.
It does the trick at the moment. You've got to understand where they can go to and what they can do with the area around it.
Yeah.
It would have been a great opportunity when it was given to the club that they could have gone to the racecourse area, built a purpose-built ground there, and you can start from scratch then, can't you? That's the big thing about it, is you're working from a very old ground, old building as such. So, I think it serves its purpose at the moment, I think.
Yeah, just touch on what you've just said there. I had heard stuff about perhaps a move to the racecourse. Is there perhaps a bit more you could tell us about that?
Well, this was a few years ago now, Ben. So the racecourse wanted to build a permanent structure because they're having issues with, I think it was issues with planning about the temporary structures for the March race festival. And to get around it was to try and build a permanent structure which they could use. And the ideal scenario seemed to be at the time that they would, if they could build a football ground there, that would give them more of a permanent structure and allow them to do what they wanted to do. But I think at the end of the day, it was going to cost the football club £1 million, I think, to do it. And that was, at the time, was too much. So.
And I'd imagine for the horses to get through, we wouldn't have a standing end on each side.
It would be back. If you look next week, I know there's none going to be there, but there is the temporary hospitality areas. It was going to be around that area there. It's going to be so, and of course you had fantastic car parking and all the rest of it. But it is where it is, and we are where we are, sort of thing. But if we can get, it all depends about levels you get to and how big you want to build the ground, isn't it? So
I think for where we are at the moment, what we've got is pretty good. Just sort out that, stand behind the goal, and we'll be good. Okay, so the next question did mention. Now, see, my next question did ask if you could remember your first game, which obviously you can. But if we touch on your first season as a whole, what was it like? And was there anything memorable about it? And what would you say really got you hooked throughout that season to have kept you here?
Well, the fact it was close to where not close to, I suppose, a million miles from where I lived. It was easy to get to. My mum and dad weren't too bothered if I came on my own as I got older and what have you. So that was another thing as well, which helped. And come with a few friends and what have you. I thought it was great to be able to watch live football. I think that was the main thing about it, because obviously I wasn't old enough to play at that time. And I think the fact that you could basically you stand where you wanted to stand, really, pretty much. There was none of this, the stewards were few and far between. And like I say, you could follow the goalkeeper around. If you wanted to be behind our goalkeeper, you could just follow him around. If not, you could there's none of this shouting at their goalkeeper when he went. When he tries to have a kick, when he kicks the ball out of the goal area. Now everybody makes this, and it's supposed to put him off, but it never does. There's none of that at all. So it's all a bit different. It was completely different to what it is now. The pace of the game was completely different. Nothing like playing out from the back. It was get it forward as quick as you can, sort of thing. So, but it's a great experience because obviously football, at the time was big because of England doing really well, and lots of teams, in the football league as such doing really well. United were on the up. Everton were doing okay. So it was a great opportunity for somewhere like 3 miles from where you live to go and watch some live football, and very, very cheap to get in.
That's fair. Live football did get me hooked as well. Fairly local. When I started, I did live in Cheltenham, then moving to Cleve wasn't really much of an issue. It took pretty much the same time to get there.
And like, yes, I say you could cycle up, walk up, get the bus. It was easy, piece of cake. So, but and going to watch them then in not only on Saturdays, we're going to watch midweek games as well. Was really, that's one of the highlights of the week, sort of thing, was to go and watch them play in the evening game and sit in the main stand. And you'd have a row of wooden. There was rows and rows of wooden benches there at the time, and just to go and sit on one of the benches to watch the game, because you normally would have the whole bench to yourself on some occasions. Surprisingly, Southern League football was not as popular.
I think there's still got a few wooden seats.
How would you say you've seen attendances grow then since those kind of times? And have you seen a kind of attitude of fans change too? Like, would you say that it was more respectful of the other team then?
I think that the one thing that I've always thought, the way that you get more fans is if you start to play good football and you start to win things. I think there's no doubt about that. And in the going back a while, Cheltenham never seemed to win anything, which was disappointing. And it was always said that it's because of the people at the road, watching the old egg chasing game, that that would stop us from getting a big crowd. But eventually, things turn around. The run to the FA Trophy final was fantastic, and there was 24,000 at Wembley, and there must have been probably more than that, 29,000 at Wembley, I should say, and there probably was 29,000 out on the streets on the Monday when they brought the trophy back. Now, where do they all come from? And you just think, well, I've only been to the ground. I think I've been to the ground 3 times when it was anything close to being full. And you always got to wonder where these people go or disappear to. And maybe it is because they've got used to the fact that, Cheltenham weren't achieving a great deal. We were obviously in non-league for a lot of that period of time, where they thought the standard wasn't good enough. I don't know. But I think, and I think at the time, a lot of people used to go and follow Liverpool, Man United, all these teams, and there was coaches going up from Cheltenham every weekend. So, but now I think Cheltenham have produced some good stuff in the recent years, and more and more people I think want to get involved in it a little bit. Again, it'd be great if we could be 6,000 every week, wouldn't it? It'd be fantastic. The atmosphere would be brilliant if you could get it. It's just, for whatever reason, I don't know why, we seem to hover around a mark of with away fans around 4,500, maybe slightly less than that, which is disappointing. It's just saying, we need more than 3,000 Cheltenham fans going, don't we? Which is probably the average, I suppose. Like I say, I think you can't blame it all on the fact that Gloucester are playing rugby at the road, but I don't know, maybe it's just that the perception of the only league that counts for a lot of people is the Premier League. I don't agree with that theory. I think there's much better football played in the lower leagues myself, but I just think that's maybe has something to do with it as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we've seen with Lincoln when they had that FA Cup run a few years ago, the kind of impacts it had on them as a club. All of a sudden, they stopped kind of pulling the same attendances as us, and they were filling out their ground every week. And I think Sincil Bank's about 8,000 or 9,000 capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be really interesting to see if the Man City game has changed any of the perception of the club from around the town, and if we actually see much higher gates in the future as well.
Well, I
it's
can
interesting
imagine
when we play a big game, whatever, people come out of the woodwork, start to say, "Oh, we're Cheltenham fans," don't they? Well, where are you next week? I remember going to the Everton game in the FA Cup in 2012 or whatever, 2012, 2013, as full as it could be. you couldn't get it any fuller. You know, and you're thinking to yourself, wouldn't this be great to be the way? You know, we lose, Cheltenham get stuff 5-1, which you'd expect. Everton were good at the time, you know. And then suddenly, you know, the next game it's back to usual. It's 3,000. You know, it's just, you know, there's many games we've been to where you've seen, you know, a decent crowd, and you just think, you know, why can't you just be there every game, sort of thing? You know, it can't be that hard, can it? Really?
Of course.
Maybe
Making me miss being there.
Maybe it's the price we charge. I don't know. You know, I don't know. I haven't been to a Premier League game for, I don't know how much it is to go to a Premier League game these days, but 20 quid and a burger for your kid and what have you is probably good to go to see Cheltenham, isn't it, really? So.
I'm dreading leaving uni because my ticket prices are going to double. I think Cheltenham, it's £7 a game. Villa, I can get in for £20. As soon as I don't have that discount, it's £40 at Villa and something like 26 at Cheltenham, which is ridiculous. So yeah, should we move on to the next question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so how would you compare this season and this team to some of the best that you've seen? Obviously, we've got the team that won the FA Trophy and then won promotion, 99. It seems to have won promotion to League One, as well as National League champions. How would you compare this current bunch to them?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to compare teams because, you know, football's changed a huge amount. You know, if you'd have said back in, I don't know, in 1999 to Steve Cottrell, let's play it from the back. Well, that was never going to happen. You're going to knock it forward as much as you can to the two strikers and hope for the best. So, you know, it's things have evolved, things have changed, fitness, diet, you name it, all that sort of stuff. So it's very difficult to compare. But I think that certainly in recent times, you know, we played better football. We've started to play better football because we've managed to get better footballers in the team, and I think that's made a big difference. You know, the team of '99. They could walk through the middle of town and nobody would know who they were, sort of thing, you know. And I'm not saying it's any different now because a lot of the lads who play don't live in the town, sort of thing. But, you know, everybody knew who Steve Cottrell was because he was a local boy. He went to my school. So, you know, you'd know who he was, sort of thing. But I think that we're good. I think with the fact that we had a decent season last year and we pretty much kept the same nucleus of the squad that we had for last season. And, you know, we've added a bit of quality. You know, we talked about Circum already, but I think this season is the season where you've got as good a chance as any because of the way that COVID has affected a lot of teams. And this is the best chance for us, I think, for a long time to get promoted. I think personally at the moment.
We've added a lot of quality to the side this season, especially with the signing of Circum and just keeping big players like Tozer and Ragnar as well. I think Sam Smith, the striker, has been one of our best signings, definitely the best signing in January, although he's very close to Callum Wright. And I think we have got that quality in that we need because we did struggle with a striker and we've got a Cam who can play there rather than Alfie May, which I think is going to be massive for us.
I think the one thing you've got to give Duff a lot of credit for is that, you know, we're signing better loan players. You know, I think Sheaf and it was the other double-barreled fella name I mentioned earlier from Villa last season. And, you know, we signed some better loan players, younger loan players. It's brought the dynamic of the team up a little bit as well, I think. So, as I say, I think that a lot of it is to do with, you know, as we mentioned beforehand, that the fact that a lot of teams are in and around us at the moment, but you can never really say this result is going to happen. You know, you could never say in years gone by, you might be able to predict you had a chance of winning that game or whatever game, you know. But I think things like Southend blowing Forest Green away 3-0 was a great result for us. But nobody would have predicted that before the game, would they? They you know, the worst you could expect was maybe a draw. But I think the fact at the moment is, I think we've got a strong group, we've got a strong core down the centre of the team, and I think that at the moment we've seemed to have started to take our chances again, haven't we? We sort of went off the ball a little bit, but now we seem to be, you know, goals are coming from many different sources, which is good, I think. And also the situation that everybody found themselves in, I think, has leveled the playing field out a little bit. The movement in the January transfer window wasn't as great, and I think that's given us a chance to stay where we are, sort of thing. So, but yeah, fingers crossed. Why not? I think we've got as good a chance as anybody at the moment, haven't we?
Yeah, I think without the pandemic, Bolton probably would have raided every team in the league for their best players, but obviously that's not really an option for them anymore. Now, the next question is, how frustrating is it that we just can't see this team in action?
Well, it's good watching the goals going, isn't it? That's quite good on the old the app and what have you. I watched a few of I watched certainly one or two of the FA Cup games, maybe three of the FA Cup games. But I've had a bit of. Certainly, people I know who use iFollow don't find it very easy sometimes. But it is very frustrating because tonight would be perfect. You just wander down, nice day, might be a little bit nippy, before the game starts or what have you. But you'd see some decent football, wouldn't you? I think so. It'd be great to be able to watch him in real life. But hopefully, what I hope is we only get to the middle of May, and we may get to see them in one game, perhaps before the season finishes, but no more after the end of the season. Let's get all automatic if we can.
Yeah, I can't cope with the playoffs, but I mean, hopefully, if we go up, we get some nice pre-season friendlies in. Maybe get City back down to Whaddon Road. That would be lovely. Get a big attendance. I think
why not? Brilliant, wouldn't it?
You take into account that we're in League One, and then the fact that fans are allowed back in, I think attendances should be topping 5,000-6,000. Hopefully,
you'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I've seen this before. So again, if you start losing, that's when it. I don't know. I hope so. I hope your optimism is shared by the kind folk of Cheltenham.
I mean, I know I'll be dragging a few uni mates down to the game, so we'll get at least 5 more people going. Now
you have to buy something while you're there, and you can't just go in. You've got to buy tea, coffee, and a hot dog and a burger. Okay.
I think I went to the Portsmouth Papa John's game, and the guy I was with ended up buying a scarf, so that helped the club out a bit.
That helped, yeah. Keep buying the shirts.
Now, me and Harry touched on this last episode, and we're just wondering, Graham, what is your favourite ever Cheltenham shirt, if you can narrow it down, or if you've got a few? Mine's the Holly Gazard shirt because it's beautiful, and Harry loves the striped ruby shirt.
Well, I was listening to your podcast about it, and as soon as I heard the subject, my mind quickly went to the blue and black Inter Milan style. I think it was a third kit, at the time. That was really nice. Didn't see it wear enough. I'd have been great if they'd have worn it with white shorts. I think would have been great. But didn't see them wear enough of it. But that was quite good. I'm a sort of traditionalist. I like the red and white stripes, to be honest. I could put up with the ruby colour that Harry liked, and I can live with that. But I think the plain old red and white stripes, because that's what we are, isn't it? Red and white stripes. And I know things change and all the rest of it, and you can't keep the same kit, but I do like the red and white striped ones. And I think I've got somewhere in one of my drawers upstairs the kit that would have been worn in the FA Trophy final. Do you remember the orange one?
The orange is like 2001 or something.
Orange away kit. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I almost bought it, but someone else outbid me.
There's been some pretty awful mock-ups. Yeah, very wise. Yellow seems to be wanting to be one of our away kits all the time. Yeah. I thought we should have gone a different colour altogether. I know I accept that yellow obviously is a different colour, but I thought that the turquoise is quite a good colour, which is is nice. It's quite a good one. But I just thought we should go somewhere completely different, but keep it with the stripes. That's why I like the Inter Milan one. I thought that was really good.
Myself and Harry have done a little knock-up of a potential one for next season involving blue and black stripes, which we will put out eventually. We just haven't got around to actually finishing yet, but I do really like kit. That blue and stripe. The blue striped shirts are really, really nice. I really hope we can bring them back. So at the moment, we do just seem to be taking old designs. But I'm very worried that in 40 years' time, we try and bring back the 2016-17 shirt, which wasn't quite striped, wasn't quite quartered, just never seems to finish itself.
I always wanted to see them wear white away from home for some reason. I don't know why, but
with our third shirt, I think you'll be able to see that happen.
Good.
Should be good.
Yes, looking forward to that. Hope my name's on it.
I think mine is. I hopefully they've got the right name. No, just gonna.
They sent an email about it out to everyone, but I didn't get it, so I had to tweet at the club asking if they could DM me so I could verify my information. I was a bit worried. I was like, oh, I really hope that I actually get put on this kit because I've donated my season ticket to it.
I think I got emailed about 3 or 4 times.
I've had a few emails.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure they know to spell it.
We've looked back at one episode. We're going to look back another. And Graham, who would you say is the best loan player that you've seen at Cheltenham Town?
Seen quite a few. Some that should never have even been on, maybe even on a football pitch, perhaps. But we seem to have got them. or that they come with massive promise, and when we've got actually signed them, they've been absolutely they've been going over the top. Let's say that, shall we? I thought Alan Wright, when he signed initially on loan, I think it was, but I don't know if did he ever come permanent? Can't remember if he did. He was a good player. How could you get a Premier League fullback, playing for Cheltenham Town? He was terrific. And the obvious ones, Pack was very good. I know you like Pack, don't you, Ben? Butland, how could we get in England a goalkeeper of his stature at the time? Was a major coup, I thought. Garbutt's been very good, but then you got other people like the lads who came last season. I think they did a good job for us. Sheaf and he never let us down, did he, sort of thing. So and a lot of the players we've had on loan have turned into permanents, haven't they? So Raglan was he a loan to start with?
It was a half-season loan, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We'll maybe touch on this as we go further on, but when Martin Allen was there, we had every loan you could ever think of. He'd go and watch a Queen's Park Rangers reserve game, sign somebody, bring him down, stick him in a hotel. He'd never play for us. So, that's the way he seemed to operate, sort of thing. Many stories about Martin Allen, but I think that we've had some big names, sort of thing, and Butland is still doing. He's Crystal Palace number 2 at the moment, isn't he? I think so.
Yeah, still doing very well.
Yeah, Pack was always a good player. I thought he had, he was decent. He always had the chance to go higher, and luckily we got him to sign, and we got some money from him in the end. We seem to have maybe not always done successfully, but I think those 4, and I think this lad who's that I haven't seen this season, the one scoring all the goals at the moment, is it Smith? Sam Smith?
Yeah.
He sounds to be as if he's useful. And a bit of experience and a bit of knowledge and what have you.
Potential to sign him permanently,
which is going to help us. Yeah, which would be great. It'd be fantastic if we could. That's a sure fact. But I think Duff's done a great job getting some of these people on board and convincing them to come down and play at Cheltenham. But as you've been there many times, both of you. You see the pitch and you think, oh, I could play on this, couldn't you? That's a good selling point, I think. I remember the good old days when it was a mud heap. Absolute mud heap, and there's dips in it all where the water would settle and all the rest of it. And I remember that's one of the things that Steve Cottrell did when we got into the Football League, was to say to Paul Baker, I want a decent pitch, because if we've got a decent pitch, we can play decent football. And I think that's probably been pretty evident over the years that we've been playing in the Football League, I think.
Yeah.
A couple of occasions when it used to fly in the air a lot, but
sometimes you just have to. Perhaps now you'd like to expand on the roles and the experiences you've held and had with the club.
I was very pleased when I was remember the season we got relegated from the Football League when we lost to Shrewsbury. Mr. Baker kindly phoned me up, so I've known him for a long time, and he said to me, "Would you like to come on the bounce back committee?" And I said, "What's the bounce back committee?" And Paul, he said, "It's the way that we're going to try and get ourselves back into the Football League at the first attempt. That's why we called it bounce back." And it was a lot of people were in a situation where if we didn't get back, we probably would be struggling to have got back. So we had to make a big effort. So that was quite a good experience in a positive, negative sort of way, if you know what I mean. So we were obviously going to struggle a little bit, but maybe we'll touch on that later on. Just various things. I was on the Robbins Trust for a couple of years. That's an interesting experience. And I know a lot of people there, which is obviously a big help if you want tickets. And having been a sponsor, I sponsored, I don't know how many games I've sponsored, and been involved in certain things that have gone on around and about games and what have you. So that was, off the field, I've been, as much as I can, I've been to various games, when I was not involved in football, obviously, because a lot of the football I was involved in was on a Sunday. So as to other things with the club, well, obviously, my time at Cheltenham Town Ladies, helping to steer that in the direction of getting back to playing games at Wadden Road, which was great. And then we maybe touch on other bits and pieces that we talk about later on. But it was a great experience to be involved in a team playing at Wadden Road, being the manager of the team, having watched football there, having played football on the ground, and then to actually manage a team on the ground was just fantastic. It sort of squared the circle a little bit, I think. So that was quite an experience as well. So very good.
So you sort of piqued my interest there with the bounce back committee. What sort of thing did you do in that?
Well, it was all about ideas behind getting people involved to try and keep the budget as it was, effectively. So trying to do things to raise money to keep the group that give back Gary Johnson the best chance he could have to keep, to get, a new team, because it effectively he restructured the whole team. He let 11 players go at the end of that season, and we started from scratch, and nobody gave us a chance. Nobody gave us a chance. We won the first. I think we were unbeaten in the pre-season friendlies, and everybody seemed to think, "Oh, hang on a second, we might have a chance at this." And then we started to Forest Green. If you remember, won 10 out of 10, I think, to start with.
Yeah.
And we were just jogging away. And then, I think that was as good a job as anybody could do, to start from completely from scratch. They never played with each other when he first got them along from pre-season training. Apart from a little wobble, we won the league quite comfortably that season, didn't we?
Yeah, you clearly did a very good job with that.
Well, I don't think I can take any credit for that, really, Ben, to be honest. But no, it's great to be involved. Nice to be involved. The fruits of other people's labours, apart from mine, were, the success was the fact that we got. I think also the thing about it was the club suddenly, from being in the depths of many, many things, suddenly became a club for the local community again. I thought for that as well, to be honest. And Gary Johnson was the man to do that, really. He was the talisman for it, wasn't he, really?
A lot of fans do forget just how important Gary Johnson was for this club. Like, if he hadn't come in, perhaps we wouldn't even be back in the Football League at this time.
Exactly. It was a make or break season. We had to get back up, because who knows where we would have been, to be honest. Certainly United away on a Tuesday night.
Couldn't be
doesn't have the same appeal as Mansfield Town at home on a Tuesday night, does it? So yeah, I think it was a time when they needed everybody to pull together, and I think we did. I think the town did as well, I think, to be fair. The build-up of games when we were playing like Grimsby and we were playing Forest Green and those sort of games where you think, this is a big game, isn't it, sort of thing. And okay, it was only National League, but you still got to win, haven't you? You still got to get out of it. So, and the fact you could go to these games and you didn't have to buy a ticket, you could just turn up and all those sort of stuff. So that's good. Good times, I think. Good times. Glad we made it back.
So now we're just going to expand more on me and you working together. Now, we met through your role with the women's under-18 side, and I was wondering, how did you end up as the manager, and what would you say you got out of the role?
Well, I was manager of the first team. The chairman decided it was a time for a change. I think I was sacked as manager of a volunteer side, I think. Remarkable. Anyway, then great man Gary Goodall, who you know very well, top man, came to see me at home, and he said, "Oh, do you fancy getting involved in the under-18s?" They needed a change of manager, and I was delighted to get the opportunity to do it. And I think that when I remember going along to watch a couple of games, and a lot of people were looking at me thinking, "Oh, I'd already taken the job," when I hadn't actually taken the job, and it was a bit unfair on the guy who was doing it at the time. But the big thing for me was trying to develop the players, because at the end of the day, they're all under 18s, they were 17s, they just needed a bit of direction. And the only thing I can only say that I did for that particular thing was, for that particular season, was we played with if you remember, we always used to play with somebody playing the number 10 role. So we played 4-4-1-1. So we played 4-4-1-1. I've probably got to give Paul Theory credit for some of that as well, but only a little tiny bit. And we changed that. We put somebody in that position, and I think as with all the teams I get involved with, we brought a really good team spirit into the group. I remember we beat Forest Green. I don't know if you were there on that Sunday morning. We beat Forest Green ladies or under 18s. I think it was 6 or 7-0. We looked like a decent side, if you know what I mean, by playing wide, playing lots of width and a lot of pace, and this number 10 role as well. And that sort of boosting confidence pushed them on and what have you. And it's great to say, it's really good to be able to help in a little small way to develop these players and give them the confidence to go in and play. And then, obviously the next challenge was to take them further forward into the women's game, really, because that's where you came in, wasn't it? Really, was into that side. And I think that the one thing I remember, again, I can't remember. You probably were there when we played Dursley. Do you remember that game at Dursley? Our girls looked tiny compared to theirs, tiny. And I remember before the game, they came back in after looking at the pitch, saying, "Oh, they're really big and strong and what have you." And I remember saying to them, "Just play your game. Just play your game. Whatever happens, just play your game." It was in the pre-match handshake, you could see the opposition thinking to themselves, we're going to run over these easy today, aren't we? Because they're a bunch of young kids and what have you. Because they were, weren't they? They were 17, 18-year-olds, playing in a women's football. And it was, anyway, I think we won 5-2 in the end, I think. Played some really good stuff. And I think that was a spark that made them actually grow up as a team, if you know what I mean. And then it's just really a question of keeping them, developing them. And, we probably only played with like 15 players, I think, in the whole season, I think. Because, winning games of football makes people want to come back and play again, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you really did bring in that winner's mentality, which it did help them grow up quite a lot. Obviously, I came in towards the end of the last season in youth football. We ended up winning the title, winning the League Cup, and then obviously you've taken the team and just absolutely run away with the league in their first season in adult football.
Yeah, we scored 116 goals in the first season, which was remarkable. Okay, some of the games, I don't know, again, do you remember the game we played against, I can't remember the team, one of the teams we played, it was like we were 9-0 up after half an hour.
Yeah.
You could just call it off. You could just call it off. And I remember we finished 20 minutes early because we were 18-0 up at the time. And that again, that I don't think we ever got arrogant. I don't think we ever got big-headed about it. And we played some decent teams eventually when we got into the crux of the season. And as you're the goalkeeping coach, Ben, you've got to take a bit of credit for us only letting in 12 goals. So that's pretty good, But and like I say, I think we played some decent football. We scored some cracking goals. A lot of the players would learn a lot about themselves playing in that level of football. It's a game of, I don't think it's a game of huge amount of tactics at that age group. Obviously going to try and play with some, but I think it's just giving them confidence, and that's what we tried to do, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think the confidence has really, really helped them quite a lot. Obviously, we've got one of those players over in America now. Got another one who's meant to be going soon, but deferred a place, and I've got a couple with my uni team as well. And it's really good to have come through with them in that journey. And in the build up to this, I watched a few of the highlights that we had from those games. Did bring back some good memories. It did show just how good they were.
And with the fact that we winning always brings people back, and the fact that they really enjoyed it, I think was a good thing. That was the big thing about it, was keeping that team spirit up. Whatever happened, a lot of people would try and come and bully us out of the games because they thought they would just be able to do that because we're too young. But that never really seemed to bother us, really. We steamrolled a lot of teams, didn't we?
Yeah, just
by playing decent football, really. It wasn't kick ball over the top all the time. It was pass, wasn't it, really?
It's passing with purpose.
Indeed. You got a good memory there, Ben. You got a good memory.
I still use that sometimes, to be fair. With
it's very good. Yeah, it's good.
Does help.
It's good. And I think that playing with two wide players in that football, and that I think that works in a lot of football these days. Just keep it wide, play wide as much as you can. I think it's a great way of, because most people you play in different certain levels, and if you've got somebody who's got a bit of pace,
quite helpful,
as you know yourself, go round them.
So yeah, very good memories there. Now, a more mixed experience, of course, was our trip to Holland. It was a lot of fun, and we walked away with some silverware. Did have I'd say substandard accommodation, and that bus that didn't have a toilet for a 15-hour journey.
I think it was an amazing trip. We learned a huge amount about preparation and getting ready to play games back-to-backs, really, weren't they? When we played some decent teams as well. And I think the thing that, everybody says what goes on tour stays on tour, but the accommodation was terrible. And I had to share a caravan with Paul Fury, which was unbelievable. But it was, I think everybody enjoyed themselves. I think we were probably one player missing from when we might have won the whole thing. But it was nice to be complimented by the other teams on the way we played as well, which was really nice. Particularly, remember the last game we played against the ones who won the thing. That they were a decent side, weren't they? Very decent side. But yeah, I think it's a great experience for everybody. I think, really, to be honest, terrific. The coach trip down was pretty horrendous. The coach trip back wasn't much better, but there's a few thickheads when they got off the ferry, I think, on the Friday, and it carried on after that, didn't it? Really, I think so. But it wasn't the greatest accommodation, that's a sure fact. Not in my top 10 of accommodations I stayed in abroad, let's say that.
Yeah, ignoring the accommodation, obviously it was a very, very good experience, and we went to Holland and we showed them what English football can actually do. It's not all long ball Burnley style stuff.
Agreed.
Perhaps you'd like to touch on what you're doing now and where your coaching journey has taken you to this season and perhaps beyond.
So I'm doing my UEFA B licence, done my block 1 so far. Block 2 will be in April. So we'd really like to try and get that finished if I can this year. 4 blocks altogether. So of course, with things that are going on with COVID and what have you, it's been stop-start. The most important thing was to get block 1 done, which we did at GFA. We had 2 groups of 10 and we managed to do it that way. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes back to normal. So this season or last season, can't work out which one it is really. We're still in the season, I don't know. I took over as a first team manager of Wickwall Wanderers in Stroud League Division 1. So that was men's football, simply because I wanted to have a go at men's football. I thought that was the right thing to do. I had a funny feeling, I don't know what it was. I thought I wouldn't see Cheltenham play this season. As it turns out, that's worked out all right for me, sort of thing. And it was a good challenge, and it's a good standard of football, good level. It's very strange. We never, in all the time that I've been there, we've never used changing room yet. It was all change outside, come change, and all the rest of it. You could never do anything on a tactics board, all that sort of stuff. And it just part of the team spirit side, which was very good. We got a good team spirit, but it gets better when you can be in the change room, can't you, before the game, sort of thing. So it was different, adapting different styles of play and what have you against different teams. And then back in November, I was asked to go for interview for the manager's job at Royal Wootton Basset Ladies. So they're in the Southwest Regional Premier Division. So we did that, got that one. That was nice to be offered that position. Did a few training sessions, played a friendly against Swindon Town Development, beat them 6-2. In front of a crowd of 86 people then, paying £2 each to watch us beat them. And it's good. And, it's good to be back involved in women's football as well. So how long they both continue for is down to me, really. But it's good to be out there on the grass. That's where you
definitely
can't beat it.
Okay, so
favourite season, I'd say 2015, 2016.
Yeah, National League winning campaign.
Returning to the league, National League winners. Went to a lot of the games, which was great. So that was really good. What's next?
Favourite match?
Favourite match, I'd say 2007, 2008, last game of the season. We needed to win against
Doncaster. Yeah, that's one of my favourite games as well. That was fantastic.
Most amazing game of football. Amazing game of football. And luckily, I got to know Keith Downing since through different coaching things and what have you. And when I see him, I always talk to him about the game, and he still remembers it vividly. We won the game against a team it was like the Siege of the Alamo, wasn't it? Remember it? Siege of the Alamo, fantastic.
Yeah. If Doncaster had won, they'd have got automatics, hadn't they?
That's right. What's next?
What would you say your favourite squad has been?
I give a huge amount of credit to Gary Johnson for reforming the group. He got rid of all the players in that terrible season when we got relegated, and we went from being nowhere to we made it. Huge credit to Gary Johnson, I'd say.
Who's your favourite player that you've seen at Cheltenham?
I always like Harry Pell. I like people who get stuck in, and he gets stuck in, didn't he?
Yeah.
Tony Naylor, do you remember him? Julian Allsop.
Very vaguely, yeah.
Huss is very good. I think Toes is very good. Gillespie, there's some big names there. But I'm sure if I'd have seen some of the players this season, they would have come into the list. But I haven't seen them, so it's difficult to say. But I think somebody who's all action, no nonsense, gets stuck in, can score goals. I think Harry Pell's got to be up there. I think.
Harry Pell, what a player he was. Now, moving on to your favourite manager, who would you say that's been?
Well, I don't know if I can put it in one, but I think Cottrell, because obviously I know him and he's a good guy. Made us into a professional team. I think that's what I think he's really good at. I think Yates, he had his time again. Get to know these people, and that they are football people. Mark Yates did a terrific job. I think Michael Duff has done a great job. I think he's raised the levels. I think is what we try to do. I mentioned Keith Downing. He was given a really difficult task when John Ward left, and John Ward had set the team up ready. But Keith Downing to produce that game against that result. The game against Doncaster, they had so many shots, range shots on our goal. Was it Benson who went and scored the winner? I think it was
Paul Benson, yeah. That was actually one of the questions we didn't get to in the quiz.
Yeah. But I think that, I think the successful ones, we've had some real bad ones, of course, but the least favourite managers. We've had Bobby Gould, Martin Allen, Paul Buckle. Do you remember Paul Buckle?
Oh God, yeah. That wasn't ideal.
Not been great. No disrespect to them. They're obviously good football people, but wrong place, wrong time, I think. So
I have to agree with that, yeah. So if
just
we
didn't
just
understand where we were.
touch on perhaps the least favourite season, and then we can wrap up the favourites.
Yeah, probably when we lost, we got getting relegated back to the conference in 2015. Gary Johnson had been given 6 games, I think, to try and save us.
Yeah.
And I think we won one of them. We lost the other 5. We lost to Shrewsbury in the last game. That was very disappointing. The pitch was awful. It was dry. It was sandy. It was dusty. And I remember watching all the games preceding the last game, thinking we've had it, sort of thing. So
fair enough. Yeah. Obviously, we've gone from that to a very, very good season. Are you confident in our chances of going up?
Like I say before in this podcast, that now is the best time to do it. If we got a chance to do it this season, this season is the chance. We've got to try and take it. The teams are pretty level up. There's a level up of the teams because of what's happened. Nobody's run away with it, and I think that we've got to cross our fingers and hope we can get automatic. Just keep winning. We're in front now. If we can keep winning, nobody's going to catch us, are they? So we've got to just keep going, I think. So
all we got to do, just keep winning.
That's all it is. It's as simple as that, isn't it, really? And if we do, we'll win the league. And it'd be great. I don't think we want to go in the playoffs again.
Absolutely
I think
not.
That would be get away from that for a change, But with 15 games to go, whatever it is, I think the fact that we're there, must be a big incentive to the players that are there. But of course, you've got to look out for the chasing pack, because a couple of reverses and you're back with them, aren't you? And they're back with you, sort of thing. So
it's very, very close.
We both think Bolton are going to be in with a shout, aren't we? And others like them, because they've gone on a fantastic run, haven't they? So, but yeah. I think it'd be great if we could get automatic, I think.
Okay, so we are going to wrap up the interview there. Graham, thank you so much for coming on. It's been very interesting to hear, and I'm sure everyone will be very, very interested in what you have to say. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks, Ben.